Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Banter, where we talk about whatever the heck we feel like talking about.
Yeah.
I'm here with Silas and Jason.
Mix up the cast.
Yeah, we got a new cast going
hold on. No free ads.
Oh, also, Jason, can you grab that little remote and make that light green?
Yeah.
The G button or just the green button?
The big green one at the top. Let's see if it works. Come on.
Is it like slow?
You just gotta keep on pressing it.
Yeah,
there we go. Good to go.
Double tap.
Just gotta spam it
Double tap.
sometimes.
Double tap.
How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, man. Like we were talking about beforehand, my voice, if it sounds different, it's because we had such a great time in the Hydro Club Championship, but I talked non-stop. I feel like I'm a talker on the disc golf course anyway, right?
Gotcha.
But then getting to hang out with everybody who came in, we just talked and talked and talked, and I didn't realize I was talking so much. So, and then like Saturday night, I had to announce like the 15 minutes till we leave, and like my voice cracked because I didn't realize how weak my voice was at the warehouse. Like, oh my gosh. So,
Do you ever lose your voice when you sing? Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
how do you treat? So, do you have like the whole a drink or some sort of recipe drink that you do before or after to try to help?
I don't as much anymore. I used to a lot. In college, I did a lot because I spent most of my nights hanging out with the boys, just screaming. And but my vocal teacher used to get really upset at me, and she was an amazing, sweet lady, but she was like stern when she needed to be stern, which for me was pretty much all the time. Going into college, my vocal technique was terrible, so I would lose my voice all the time. Like every Sunday, whenever I would sing, I'd lose my voice pretty much. And like I would go home hoarse. And then I got to college, and she fixed me because I was stupid. And now I can sing a lot longer without losing my voice. But mainly I lose it whenever I get sick. Like whenever my allergies are getting bad, and whenever I get sick, then I'll lose it. But whenever I'm just like singing, I'm like my technique is good enough to where I don't lose it as much.
Yeah.
I think that's what's affected my voice too, because I woke up the other day, I was like, okay, I can, you kind of feel that cold or that sickness there. It's not hitting me, but I'm like, it's just on the edge. So I think that combined with talking all weekend, messing with my voice.
And then we got all those lantern bugs out there. Have you seen all those bugs outside?
The lantern flies?
Yeah, those things are so annoying.
Whoa. I just touched something and it,
yeah, we went from you were far away to you were right.
This mic is on the fritz. I don't know what the deal. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't know. I got it. Got my headphones on. So. Darn XLRs, man.
All right, so for those of you that don't know, one, I apologize. I've been sick all weekend, so I excuse my sniffling
sniffles.
and my nasally voice. Silas,
Yeah.
you're a live sound guy, or you had been for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was volunteering for a church for like 3 years, and then kind of filled in the position of technical director, which is over everybody in the sound and video world. But yeah, that's where I started sound, and it's interesting because like at first I thought when I went to college, I was like, oh, this would be like a cool like side gig.
Yeah.
You know, just mix front of house, A1, whatever. And now it's like, it's been good to know. Now I work in broadcast, like sports broadcasting still. But I would say that audio experience has like helped me even in like operating replay, which is like my main role today.
That's awesome. Okay, Silas.
Yeah.
I feel like with the amount of time that you spent serving and doing live sound, there's got to be a story of just a crazy failure that happened.
Oh, well, Hunter did start a fire.
Yeah, so those of you that don't know, that's how Hunter and Silas met.
Yeah.
Was they both served behind the board together.
Yeah, so I would do sound, and he would do Pro Presenter, which is like the slides.
Behind the booth, rather.
Yeah, behind the booth. And we didn't really know what we were doing. One of the guy who was in charge had just left or whatever, and so it was like me and Hunter to defend for ourselves, and so we were looking for a power supply because at this time our church had been meeting in a school cafeteria. Okay, so we'd set up, tear down every week, everything. We couldn't leave anything, and So we had it down to a system of just like everything's in these 2 boxes. You know, we bring all of it out, set it all up, boom, it's good to go. But occasionally you'll just have something that goes missing. Like we'll forget to pick up a cable or like a power supply. And so this week happened to be one of those weeks. And we were like, where's the power supply for this? Like, I forget what it was. It's just a little box, like a little converter or something.
Yeah.
And Hunter's like, oh, I found one. I'll just plug it in. I'll just plug it in here. And so he like plugs the power supply in to the converter. Boom. We're good to go. It's working. 5 minutes later, it just starts smoking. And we're just sitting there like, something smells like it's burning. And at the time, there's just like 2 6-foot tables that we're have everything on. And the like power strip is under the table. So we just take a peek under the table and we're like, oh, that thing is smoking. I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to be how it is. And we like unplug it, and oh my gosh, Hunter caught this power supply on fire.
Crazy.
That is so funny. That's hilarious. I one time my mom used to do which I say my mom, it just means my whole family had to. But she used to do the stage designs for my church growing up. But she would like, my mom was an artist like all throughout her life, and is also really good at like building stuff, like using power tools and stuff. So she would build these crazy elaborate stage designs. Like whatever series we were in, she would make just like a wonderland on stage to go with it.
Yeah.
It was at one point she made like, I can't even remember all the stuff that she made, but it would have to do with like a lot of different like kinds of like paper and foam board just to make this like huge sculpture or something, and it always had LED lights inside of it and stuff, because then my dad knew how to use all the technical side of it. So my mom would build the pretty art and my dad would make it like light up and stuff. And so it was nuts. Like the stage designs were crazy. It's also where I got this really unhealthy idea from my mom, where I remember her specifically saying as a child, like me as a child, she would say, like my dad would be like, Kirsten, because we would be at, every time we did a new stage design, we'd be at the church until 5 o'clock in the morning, like on Saturday night, trying to get it ready for Sunday morning. Yeah. And so my dad would be like, Kirsten, it looks fine like that. Like we've got to go home. Like it looks fine. And I vividly remember her saying multiple times, fine isn't good enough. If it has my name attached to it, it has to be perfect. And now I'm messed up because I'm like, oh, if my name is attached to it, it has to be perfect. I'm like, that's not the way you're supposed to live. That's not healthy. Yeah. But she one time built like with some kind of light boxes, but it was like made out of paper and stuff. But it had an LED in it. And during the service on Sunday, the first Sunday, they were in the middle of like the third song and it burst into flames. Oh, wow. Like, because it was paper. So as soon as it got hot, it just went up. Goodness. And the bass player was my best friend's dad. And he just turned around with his bass and whacked it down with his hand and stomped on it on stage and just kept on playing.
My goodness.
They didn't even stop. I don't even, like, no one in the band even knew it was happening. Only the bassist, who it was right behind him. He felt the heat. That's why he knew it was happening. Right. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
That's why LED wall is so good, because you can put anything on the back.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
So my dad used to be a DJ whenever he was in high school. So obviously before I was born, whenever he was in high school, he DJ'd like all his high school's proms and dances and stuff like that. And then other high schools would call him over to do it as well. And this is at the time of like actual turntables. And so he had like boxes of records and everything. He made it into the cassette era where he was starting to use cassettes.
Do you like put actual turntables? Do you actually put the vinyl on the thing?
Yeah.
So you can't just like load it up?
No. So the purpose for the reason
you can't
why
just this song recall.
No. So the reason
you had to learn and look to see exactly where the line was.
You're bringing in your boxes of vinyl.
Boxes of vinyls. Yeah.
Oh my!
It was a game changer. So that's why all the software and all the programs you use for DJing have the two turntables spinning.
Right.
Because it's supposed to represent. They had they would have two turntables.
Yeah.
And it's so that you could seamlessly go between songs,
switch between songs. Yeah.
So you have to think they're pulling up a vinyl, put it on there, and they have to put it on the right spot for the right song.
Yeah.
So that
Wait,
vinyl,
so they can't even like preview the song before?
well, they can because they can listen to because on their turntable he can listen to just
Okay,
one
so he
side
can still
in his
listen
ear.
to one side.
Yeah,
okay.
but that way he can match it up, and you spin it to actually get it the right speed to
my
match up and
goodness,
everything.
dude.
But you have to think some vinyls are single track like vinyls, but for the most part they're albums.
Oh,
So
they're
you
on a bunch of different songs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So you gotta put that thing in the right spot to find the right song. It's awesome, but.
Have y'all never actually looked at
No.
a record or played it? I mean, maybe
No,
you
I
have.
have
but you
never. I have a
haven't,
record
must say.
player.
I have
I have a
never
record
played
player.
a record.
Things you guys didn't know.
It's just crazy,
Goodness.
especially for like DJing and stuff. That's just insane. But so he did that. He also had a cassette player that was a DJ cassette player, so that he could do the same thing, blend between them, everything. He said once he could do that, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
But he would bring these lights with him, and it was a light wall that he made that was literally just like sheets of plywood with holes drilled into them and light bulbs, so that he would put the sockets through them.
Okay.
And so at each gig that he would have, he'd bring his box of bulbs.
Yeah.
And he would just get him and a buddy to go grab the bulbs and screw them all in.
Yeah.
And that's what he would do before every show. He'd screw them in. The problem is that the sockets would go bad, and you would have to replace the sockets. But you would have to screw them all in and get them plugged in before you could see which sockets were bad. And then it was like took twice the amount of time at that point. So he said that what he would do is he'd just lick his finger and stick it in the socket.
Oh my gosh.
And
He
if
got
it
lit
shocked
on
him,
shock.
it was good.
Oh my
And he said that he
gosh.
would leave those shows and not be
No.
able to feel his fingers at
Oh
all.
my
That
gosh.
freaks me out.
No,
And then
thanks.
sometimes whenever bulbs wouldn't work, he would do the trick where he'd take a penny and put the penny down in the bottom of the socket, and it would be enough to make contact. Because a lot of
Really?
times it was that the gap was too big, it wouldn't make enough contact.
I didn't know
A
that.
penny at the time was made out of copper, not anymore, but
Yeah.
so it would make contact between the actual socket and the light bulb.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Back
Now,
in the day.
my dad still DJs sometimes.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, he
Break out the vinyl turntables.
It was like randomly, like in my whenever I was in when my sister was in high school, we went to the same high school before I was there. She had a prom, and it was a really really small high school, and they were like trying to figure out like a DJ or whatever. And Caitlin was like, "My dad can do that," because my dad didn't do DJing anymore; he did live sound now. So he was a sound guy. And she was like, "My dad can do that." And they asked my dad, and he was like, "Yeah." And he went all out. He bought everything. He just like bought the board, bought everything that like for it. Brought all the lights that we had, because we have a bunch of lights for our nonprofit that we do.
Yeah.
And he was a great DJ. He's best DJ in the area.
Wow.
Really. I
Let's
mean,
go.
his personality was there, but he was kind
DJ
of
Kev.
he's kind of like
his name's Kevin, right?
DJ Kev.
DJ Kev.
I don't actually
Let's
know
go.
if he has a real DJ name, but I mean, the only place music wise, he
Yeah.
was impeccable.
But
He wasn't like the guy that was like yo 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 yo. Like he wasn't like that guy, because
He was or wasn't?
Wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And he's just like my white dad. So.
Yeah.
It's just
But
not-
I mean,
not
as
really.
long as the music vibes are there, it's a
My
good
dad
time.
basically looks like if you just shave Jason's head completely bald, and then maybe add like
I'd make
like a
that.
little bit more age to the skin. And that's my dad. And maybe a little shorter. Definitely a little shorter.
Yeah.
What does your dad look like?
Dude, I can't believe that. Like, people, I mean, you just got to come in with your bins of vinyl, and that's how you DJ. Like, I used to watch, because I used to, like, want to DJ. I don't have the personality for it, and I know that, and it's whatever. Because you got to be like an MC. basically.
Yes.
You got to be, like, outgoing, like, yo, what's up, guys? Like, get
Everybody
pumped
stand
up. Mosh pit. That's just not me. But... I just can't believe that you can, like, in the old days you gotta bring in your vinyl things, you gotta set all that stuff up.
Yeah.
Like, now you just bring your little electronic turntable, you bring your computer, some lights, you're good to go.
Some people just bring an iPad.
Yeah. Oh.
Dude, this one guy, I was at a wedding last weekend, or not this past, last weekend. And the DJ was insane, dude. He would be making remixes of songs like live, like how like a DJ's supposed to.
Yeah.
But like we'd be listening to Love Story by Taylor Swift. So Romeo, take me, and then all of a sudden like a trap like like would start coming in, and he'd be like make a full on remix of that, and he just key matched and tempo matched the song after it, which would be like somebody call 911, like something like that, and he would like tempo match and match the keys to where they're playing at the same time, and it sounds like it'd be really stupid, but it ended up turning into super sick like remixes of songs. And there was never a moment where it was like you noticed there was a transition from song to song. He just made the
It's
whole
just
thing
like
blend.
always. Oh, that's so.
Which
cool.
that's
I
a
love
good
that.
DJ. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah. I've been to some weddings where it's just an iPad and
Oh, yeah, it's just a
somebody, and
playlist.
they're on like the Spotify like DJ like auto mix
Oh,
thing.
I hate that. That's like I tell my wife that's like my because she says these. Oh, this would be a fun topic for us to talk about. My wife talks about these things called beige flags. Okay, somebody's beige flag. It means it's not
What is
quite a
that?
red flag about them. So like it's like kind of like so it's mainly with like you're dating somebody and it's
Yeah.
like what's their beige flag.
It's like
As in-
something you don't like about them.
it's like something that's weird about them. That's like borderline a red flag, but like you can live with it,
A
so it's not a
beige
red
flag?
So beige, so it's in like kind of like a normal.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really funny. But so I say that her beige flag is that she uses the auto thing on Spotify.
On everything.
Yeah, it's,
Like while she's listening to music.
wow, she's listening to an album. So I get
Oh
so
my
mad because we're in the
gosh.
car and I'm enjoying a song, and you never get to hear the end
And then it just turns
of that
off.
song, and you never get to hear the beginning of the next song. They just blend
Yeah.
together. I'm like,
They just
that's
blend.
not right. Like I always get so. At this point, I think she has it on just because
to mess with you.
it's funny.
Gosh,
But
it was cool in the moment.
yeah,
2 years ago.
I mean, I get it for some situations, like if you're listening to a playlist in like a coffee shop. or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But to me,
yeah.
like it doesn't match keys, it doesn't match tempos. So you just get the songs blended over each other, and you don't ever get to enjoy the ending or the beginning of any songs.
Yeah.
And those are important parts of
Those
songs.
are important.
Yeah. What's your
Goodness.
beige flag, Silas?
My beige flag? I don't know, man.
I know my beige flag.
What's yours then?
My beige flag is that I talk about how I don't use any harsh chemicals in my house.
Yeah.
While I'm in the drive-through of Taco Bell.
That's funny. I don't know mine. Jason, do you have a beige flag?
I probably have a lot. At my age, I probably
I'm
have a
trying
lot.
to think
Yeah,
of something.
It's more a question, like I guess mainly you would ask it about somebody else, but
Yeah, I guess my beige flag is this is going to sound arrogant, but I think I have the gift of discernment in general.
Okay.
And so I would discern a person's personality like literally within a few minutes, and I'm either like, yeah, we're gonna be friends, or we're not. And if we're not, then I'm like, okay, whatever. You know. See, it's nice talking to you. My other beige flag, I would say, and Elizabeth doesn't. My wonderful wife doesn't have this gift because sometimes you're having a conversation, you need to leave.
yeah,
Right. And I'm like, I will have no problem politely. Okay, thank you so much. And in the middle of a sentence, turn around and walking away if I need to go.
Yeah.
People, because I understand that's considered a little rude, but if I need to go, I need to go. If
Yeah,
I
you
want to
gotta
go,
go, you
I'm
gotta
gonna
go.
go. And I am comfortable doing that with pretty much anybody. If I need to go, I won't be rude about it, but I will make it clear that I am walking away.
yeah.
Rather, I don't just turn and walk away, but I'll make it clear. Oh, that's great. I got to go. Sorry.
Duty
That's
calls.
And then take off in whatever capacity that is.
That's very funny.
Goodness.
What you got, Silas?
I don't know. Is there one that you can think of that I have a beige flag?
Yeah, I
Oh.
would. This isn't
Oh, you
necessarily
got
a beige
one?
flag. It's just something about your personality. You
Okay.
go from 0 to 100
Yes.
faster than I've ever seen
Yes.
anyone in my life.
Yes.
Like but that's just how
Okay.
what this office breeds. But you'll
Yeah.
just be sitting at your desk, completely calm with your headphones on, and the hunter will say something, and the next thing I know, you're standing up yelling.
That's funny.
I can see that for sure. I can see
But that's,
that.
I mean, again, it's a beige flag.
beige flag.
To me, beige flags make people more interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That
My
was
other
fun.
beige flag goes without saying is I talk about board games way too much.
That's
if
a
you're
good
not-
one. That's a
Without
good
doubt,
beige
people who
flag.
know me know that I talk way too much about board games. And
That's a
I
good
own
one.
that, and I'm okay with that. And if you don't like that, then we definitely won't be friends.
Then he's going to turn around and walk away
I'm gonna turn around and say, hey, I was
mid-sentence.
good talking to you. See you later.
He will discern that you guys won't be friends.
I got another one. This is going to sound even worse. I'm just hijacking this. But my
No,
I
you're
have a
good.
reverse beige flag that though I work
Reverse?
at a disc golf, sometimes I get tired of talking about disc golf. Like
Okay.
people who just like at the warehouse, it's never that. But when I'm away from it, sometimes like
Yeah.
when we're on the course, people who just continue to talk about like talking about their disc or talking about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm just playing a casual round, that's when I hang out and talk. Right?
yeah.
When people go really, but that's their board game. Like my
Yeah.
board game is their disc golf, and so
Yeah.
I'd never
I
just
feel
turn around
that.
and ignore them. But I can only talk about so much disc golf, even before I worked here. But now that I work here, I can only talk about so much.
I feel that because Hunter or Trevor will bring in a disc to like talk about, and I'll be like, oh, like sick. whatever. Just like go back to work. Like I don't like. There are just some days that I'm just like, all right, this is enough disc golf. This is enough disc golf.
That's how. So I went through like I started playing in like 2017, and I would say for like 5 years I was just like bloodthirsty obsessed with it. Like that's how I am with hobbies. I would say disc golf was one of my longer lasting ones where I was like obsessed with it for so long, because there was never a time where I didn't think about I want to be playing around at disc golf right now. With all like I mean obviously music was kind of like my whole life, but even like now I don't think about I gotta go listen to music or whatever. Like that's like all I thought about all through college. All I thought about during class is like, I can't wait for practice tonight so I can throw a disc and all that stuff. But then whenever I started working here, you're around it so much and everything. And at first it was I'm around it and filming it so much, but I'm not playing so much, so I want to play even more.
Right.
Yeah. But like I just didn't have as much time to. And then it turned into like I don't know, I guess I got like a little bit tired of it or whatever. So I actually like being around the situations where people get really excited talking about discs, because it reminds me of like that was a hobby.
You were.
Like that, and I still like my favorite part of pretty much any hobby is the equipment that you use.
Yeah.
And so like discs are my favorite part of disc golf.
Yeah.
And so like I do get excited, but I try to like whenever I hang out with people like that, I like have to think like, oh, I remember whenever like this was like this for me,
for sure.
and it makes me like more excited about it too.
Oh, I got a beige flag.
For sure.
Oh,
All right, let's go.
I'll just dive into something 100%. Like if there's a new thing, like I got into pickleball.
Yeah.
And so like I would play I would go play
hard into
pickleball every single day for like a month straight. And then now I just like, once a week. Like that's fun.
Yeah.
That's my beige flag.
Jason, I have a random question for you.
Love random questions.
What's the first hobby you remember getting into?
The first hobby I remember getting to was actually collecting coins. So,
okay.
Because we went to DC when I was really, really young.
Were you the flat penny guy?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
My kids were, and we still have a ton of those from Disney World. Mm-hmm. So, but I was not. I'm older than that.
Yeah. Respect the coin, Silas.
And we still have all those at the house for the kids. But I collected, and I was so young, and there was no internet at that time, so like it was hard to actually have a hobby. Like you had to work really hard at a hobby, you know. Yeah. And I lived in a small town, so I sort of collected coins for like a few weeks, and then I lived in a very small town, so it was very hard to do. And so, but I had this mentality like I'm gonna collect coins so that one day they're worth more, and I can sell them and have money later on. So, and then it was baseball cards. That was probably my biggest hobby when I was younger. That was consistent, was collecting baseball cards.
Do you still have a coin collection?
I don't have my coin collection. I have all my baseball cards somewhere in the house. But because the coins was really like a true passing fade. But that's the first one I remember knowing this can be a hobby.
Yeah,
right? So, and I was 6 or 7 at the time, like super young.
What's your most valuable baseball card?
I have like 3 or 4 King Griffey Jr. rookie cards. So
just to be clear, I'm not going to understand anything.
I know
you
King
say,
Griffey Jr. is King Griffey Jr. all-time great. One of my favorite players. I wore 18 because he wore. I think he wore 18. I wore 18 because he wore 18 when I played softball and baseball. And then I have just some other random. I have like a Randy Johnson, King Griffey Jr. outfielder. Randy Johnson's a pitcher. I have his rookie card. I have a few of those. I don't know how much they're really worth now because they were kept in plastic sheets, but I only have a couple actually in plastic cases, and I've never priced them. And so, but like I have like a couple old Pete Rose cards and a couple old Hank Aaron cards I got through random stuff. So probably not like a ton of money, but if I tried to sell them, it'd be some money. But I don't even know where they're in the house somewhere, but I don't even know where they're at in the house right now. So
what's something in your here's a random question again. I just keep on thinking of these random things. But what's something in your life that you kept because you thought is you were surprised by the value of it? It's something that you have that you were surprised by the value of it. Maybe you looked it up and it was more expensive than you thought it was, or the value went up, either one. And then something that you were surprised by how like low the value was. Like you expected, like you go to sell something that you have thinking, whenever I bought this was this expensive. So you go to sell it and you're like, oh my gosh, they're not worth that much anymore.
One of my value one is board game related, but it's before I got deep into it. So there's a game called Love Letter that you're just basically, it's a number-based card game. You're trying to eliminate people.
Okay.
And they have a bunch of variations of it. And there's a one called Batman Love Letter that when I bought it because it was the Batman version, and it was like $9. And on any given day at eBay, it's worth over $100. There's a little box of cards about that big.
Oh wow!
Ranges from 80 to 120, depending on just different times, the way it ebbs and flows up on eBay.
You said you bought it for $9.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
And it's and when I first got big, because when I hit COVID, I got much deeper into board games because we're all at home, right?
Yeah.
And so I went much deeper. And
board games is a great COVID hobby.
For sure. And so I almost sold it, but my kids were like, don't sell that, and I'm glad they tell, because I was flipping games basically, because I discovered a bunch of other games I had I didn't play worth more money.
Yeah.
So I would sell that to buy something, and then sell it to buy something, right? But that's the one that still to this day is because it's just a little bitty box of cards, but it's worth it at the lowest I see is around $80. So when I bought it for $8. So
okay.
No.
Gotcha.
My dad was in construction when I was like growing up and stuff, and so I was always around tools. And then I went to like go buy something like myself because like, I just needed, because I like working on my cars too, Connor. You know.
Yeah,
that.
I know that.
And tools are just so expensive.
Yes.
It's like I went to buy something. I was like, oh my goodness! Like I have access to all these tools.
Yeah.
And these are so much more expensive than I thought.
Whenever
That's
you
like
grow
the big
up
thing
in a
that
household
I
where
thought.
your parents had been building up their tools like their whole lives, you just feel like you have everything at your fingertips. You could do anything that you want to with it, and then you go to get your own stuff. You're like, what the heck? How did my parents must be millionaires? But it's just they started at our age or younger, and so they just built it up. But yeah, I'll just say I grew up with my parents all having power tools and whatever tools I wanted. So if I saw something on YouTube and I was like, that's a cool build, I could probably do that. Like I could build a forge in the backyard I did one time, or like just start cutting wood and try to make something. Like I figure out, this router, I don't know how this works, but let me start shoving stuff into it and see what happens. And then you're like, I want all of that stuff now, but now I live 3 hours away.
What is your thing that you didn't think was worth a lot, but is actually worth a lot more?
I don't know about didn't think it was worth a lot, but I know that. So whenever I was in high school, I was big into I was playing the keyboard a lot. So I played guitar first, but a lot less bands need guitar players than they do keyboardists because a lot less people play the keyboard than the guitar. Everybody wants to play the guitar, including me. I wanted to as well. But I had a softer personality, so I was willing to give it up.
Wait, do you know how to play a keyboard now? Like, do you play piano?
Yeah, I haven't played in a little while, but I still know how to play it. Yeah. We're scouring Facebook Marketplace to try to find a piano to put in our house. The problem is that we find one and they were like, wait, how do we get it?
Right. We did the same. We had two different times in life we've had offer of a free piano, but they're hard to move.
Yeah.
Very hard to move.
Fun little backstory for a second. I, for the longest time, when I was tech director at this church, I wanted to do the cool trendy thing of putting a keyboard inside of a piano shell.
Yeah.
So I found a free piano. Me and my friend Brinkley went to go pick it up, and we were like, this thing weighs a ton.
Well, because
like
you
a
forget
literal
ton. Like the wood itself weighs a lot, but inside the wood is like
it's like
a lot of times it's cast iron.
Yeah,
but it's just like iron and all these different heavy metals, because you'd think it's holding thousands and thousands of pounds of tension in those steel strings.
Yeah.
It's holding so much tension with the strings that it has to be made out of metal. And so they're so heavy. I'm gonna see how much the average weight of just a regular upright piano.
We had to call on some help because it was moving a piano anywhere is just a nightmare. Holy
that's
moly.
what held us back, because my youngest played piano and still does, and the piano is awesome. It's a great sounding thing.
Yeah.
And so we had two different free ones, and they were so heavy, and so we just didn't move them. But I do not regret it for a second, because we got a really, really nice digital piano, and he could put his headphones on.
Yeah.
And that way, because if you're playing the piano, you're going to hear it everywhere in that house.
That's
I don't know, every house I've lived in, you would hear it.
Yeah.
And I've moved twice since we did that, but since we have a nice digital piano that we still have this day, Ryder can just stick his headphones on and play away, and I'm like, we don't regret it. As cool as a real piano is, I don't regret it for a day, the fact that he could just play away and not bother the rest of us.
So an upright piano, for those of you who don't know, is like the typical one that would be in your grandma's house. It's not a grand piano, meaning the big one that takes a whole room, but it's just the one that you can put in the corner or against a wall. Average about 800 pounds.
Yep.
Honestly, less than I thought. it was gonna be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
But the size of it makes it very awkward as well.
Yeah. So I grew up with a piano in my house, and like I would be I learned how to play the piano from my mom going to worship practice and my dad doing the soundboard, and so I would just be back in the green room, and there's a piano back there. And so I would just be sitting back in the green room, and I would just play the notes. And this is probably whenever it was before I took guitar lessons, and I started taking guitar lessons at like 7, so probably around like 6. I would just like hit the notes. And with the piano, if you hit any of the white keys, it all sounds good because every single white key is in the key of C. So if you just stay away from all the black keys and you just play white keys, you will make something that sounds like music because it's all in the same key. And so I figured out really, if I touch any of these, like it sounds good. And I didn't know what the black keys did. I just know whenever I hit them, they sounded bad. So I just didn't touch them. And but then that turned into me like eventually whenever I was in 6th grade and I wanted to go into the youth band and I wanted to play guitar because I'd been taking guitar lessons since I was 7 years old. The guy that was in charge of the youth at the time was like, well, my brother-in-law was like, we don't need a guitar player right now because we have too many guitar players really because everybody and their brother wants to play guitar.
Yeah. But
we really need a keyboardist. And I at that point I knew how to play songs just because I'd memorized the keys, but I didn't know what any of the notes were. Like I didn't know anything about the music. I just knew that whenever I touched these keys, it sounded good, and I could listen to songs and learn how to play them. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And so then he had to take the keyboard and put painter's tape on all the keys and write the notes for me so that I could look at the music.
Yeah.
And now, again, I wasn't reading like sheet music. I was just reading like A, B, C, D, just like the letters.
A letter.
And so I could play those. Like I knew with chords that if you stacked this finger and this finger, it made a chord of an A. And if you stacked these fingers after it, it made a chord of a C. Now I understand the music behind it because I went to college for it.
Yeah.
But like that's all I knew. And so that's how I learned to play the piano. But I would be up until 3 o'clock in the morning at my parents' house, banging on the piano as hard as I could, singing. Like all throughout high school. And when I come back for college, like that's just what I would do. And my mom loves, like my parents weren't the people that told us, me and my friends to be quiet. They loved hearing us like goofing off. Yeah. And so probably also why there's a reason things that are wrong with me, but so my mom like loved it, so she always would be upset if I went to bed and didn't play the piano. So I would love to have a piano in my house, do the same thing. And this whole my value thing, all right. So my dad, whenever I was playing keyboard, my dad bought me a really, really nice keyboard. It was a Yamaha Motif XF7. These were like pro keyboards at the time, like big deal. $3,000 keyboard, $3,000 and up, between $3,000 and $3,500 was how much it was MSRP at the time. Bought it from Guitar Center. No, Sweetwater. So I don't have any.
I love Sweetwater.
Yeah. But
anyway.
The problem was this was the transition right before. So at this time, keyboards had all the sounds built into them. All right. So you did all your sound design and patch design and all that stuff on the keyboard. Just a couple years after this, everyone switched to just controllers, meaning that you had basically a dumb keyboard. You had a keyboard that was just the keys, barely any brain in it. And you would hook it up to your computer, and your computer had all your sounds on it.
Yeah.
So all your keyboard was doing technically was controlling your keyboard. Your computer. So you played it the same way as a piano, but the sounds were coming from your laptop. And so they did through MainStage, Ableton, different kind of programs like that. And so what that meant is that you could get into keyboard sounds, and you could download sounds from the best keyboardists and different bands and stuff like that. And it was way easier and way cheaper because you have a laptop already. And now you can just buy a controller for $300 instead of buying a $3,000 nice keyboard that has all the sounds that you design inside of it. So I had spent all this time like with this nice keyboard designing all the sounds, and I made my own patches and everything that were super cool at the time. Now they're probably stupid, but at the time they were really cool. And then now whenever I was in college, my dad was like, "Hey, do you want your keyboard?" I was like, honestly, we should probably just sell it. I was like, because it's kind of obsolete at this point. Like, if I want to play the keyboard again, I'll just use my laptop and buy a couple $100 controller. So like, I just don't need it. And he was like, okay, well, you list it on Facebook Marketplace for me because I'm kind of the Facebook Marketplace king. So I listed it again, bought it for somewhere between $3,000 $3,500. I put it on there for like $1,500, and then just time after time, people would message me and be like, "Will you take 400?" And
wow.
So and this is like years ago,
Lowballing.
and still like every couple months I get a message like, "How about 700?" And I'm like, "No." And so it's probably just gonna sit at my mom and dad's house for the rest of time because
so you still have it?
yeah, we still have because I can't like.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
sell
like
it
it's
for
one
that
of those
much.
things where like it means more to you than like more to get rid of. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
No, I understand.
Yeah, people understand.
Yeah, people.
I don't know how
people,
to put it, but
you understand.
You got
You
it.
understand. You got it.
Well, it's just like, oh, that hurts
Yeah.
so. But that's what made me think about that was
Yeah.
when we were talking about the piano and yeah, ugh.
For sure.
Okay, what do the 3 pedals on the piano do? One is sustain. I know that.
So the first one on the right.
The right is sustained.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
because there's
It's
3,
sustain on
and
the right.
I've always like wondered that.
So the one on the right is
Maybe I'm
sustain.
wrong.
The middle one is what it does is it lays it's like a mute
Yep.
thing. So
Yeah.
it lays a felt piece on all the strings to where it still makes sound, but there's no sustain. There's like it's just like a
Like
muted
deadens
sound.
it?
Yeah, deadens it. It's like think about if you just took a guitar and you laid a piece of fabric on it.
Okay.
And so it's like that.
Interesting.
It's like a mute thing.
Okay.
I think technically the purpose for it is not to play with it on, but if you're like a concert pianist or something like that, and even whenever, because of all the resonance inside of the piano, if you just hit a note and let go and you don't have any of the pedals on, there will still be resonance
Yeah.
in there because the strings still vibrate and everything.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
that
sense.
deadens the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that's technical purpose. I'm not a trained concert pianist. I learned piano by ear, so I don't really know. And the next one, I believe, only sustains part of the keyboard.
Ah.
I believe.
Okay.
That's off of my parents' piano, and their piano was old and broken.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
I don't really know.
Well,
if
All right.
comment below if Connor
Yeah.
got that
Yeah,
right.
like,
'Cause
I
you
don't-
can
I don't-
Google it right
somebody's
now while you're
gonna
watching.
know.
You're Googling it right now.
I do
Let us
not. I
know,
do not at
so-
all pride myself on being a professional pianist at all. So that's as best as I can describe it.
Yeah. That's
Crazy.
very interesting.
All right, I got a question for you, Connor. Have you finished? Without giving any spoilers, have you finished Silo, the TV show?
Yes.
Okay, all right. You know who else loves that show?
Who?
None other than Trash Panda, Jesse
Really?
himself. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
When I got to play with him, this weekend, and we were talking, and he's staying with Mikey from Overthrow, and Mikey's a big Into the Spider-Verse fan, so we were just talking about Into the Spider-Verse and whatnot, and he's like, you know what? I just introduced Mikey to is Silo. I was like, you're a Silo guy? And so I was like, oh, Gabby and Connor are Silo. I was like, so we talked as best we could
so good.
with our card mates to not give anything away.
Yeah.
About
That show is
Silo,
my
so-
favorite show that I've watched this year.
It's so good because I think I remember seeing a trailer for it. But when we started watching it, we were just trying to find a show to watch. And I was like, this looks interesting, and I know some of the actors.
How many
but,
seasons is it?
It's one.
It's one right
Unfortunately,
now.
one
Oh.
season.
Silas. No, here's the thing. No,
I
another
like
season will come
shows
out.
with long like with multiple seasons.
Another season's coming out,
Yeah.
but Silas,
Okay.
you should watch it because, like, cinematography wise,
Yes.
it is the writing.
Where,
is so
what is
good.
it on?
It's on Apple,
What platform?
whatever, Apple Plus,
Yeah.
Apple
Oh,
TV.
all right.
Do you have that?
I might have a free version.
Right, yeah.
Just sitting in.
That's the tough thing. It's on there, but it's like
It's
a lot of
so
those new
good.
TV shows. It's
There's-
almost like a mini movie, like
Yeah.
one long movie that's spread out
Okay.
over 8 episodes, I think.
The
But
set
Yes.
design for it is insane. It's so like the actual like scenery of it is just I love it so much. It's so good.
Like the premise, and this doesn't give anything away because you watch the trailer. Basically, this is post-apocalyptic, and people are living in a silo, hundreds of floors underneath the ground, and they've never been outside. These groups.
Oh, and then
Because it's
I
hundreds
think you
of
were
years
talking
after,
about
yeah.
that in the car. So like, if you say like, I want to get out,
I want to clean, or
you just say I want to go out.
I want to go outside, or something
Then
like that.
legally, you
Legally,
have
there
to
is
go
no
out.
other options, right? You have to. You can't.
That's what
The only way is you can
Appeal,
plead
right,
like,
that you were out of
plead
your
that you
mind
were
or something.
or that you were misheard or something like
Misheard,
that.
right.
Yeah.
But it's so the good shows have twists and turns, but some of the twists and turns are like, whoa.
Yeah,
like, and
it's so good. And like you start they start the first episode with you thinking one thing, and you're
right.
like, okay, well this definitely isn't the truth because
Yes.
there's no way they would. I still don't know what the truth is really.
So,
but I got a bunch of answers, but I don't know what the truth is.
That sounds like a very fun show.
Yeah.
I really like the show The 100.
Yeah.
oh yeah, I remember
There's a bunch
watching.
of seasons.
I
It's
only watched the
kind
first few
of a similar
seasons.
style, like writing wise.
Yeah,
I would
okay.
say, like plot wise. But Yeah, we started watching this show yesterday because I was sick as a dog and just laid on the couch. Well, yeah, I had like this weird with whatever I was sick with. I think it was just a cold or something. I think so because I feel a lot better today, just kind of like nasally stuff. But I don't feel like absolute crap until I sit down.
Yeah.
And do nothing. That's whenever it all like catches up with me. So whenever I'm sitting or laying in bed, I feel awful. But whenever I'm standing up, I feel a lot better. Like whenever I'm doing something, specifically whenever I'm outside, I feel better.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So I got a bunch of these tools from my grandpa over the weekend because this weekend I was at my grandfather's funeral in Charlotte, and because he passed away a little bit ago, and he was really into woodworking. My grandma sent me home with 2 bins just full of his woodworking tools, which is pretty much the best thing ever for me. So yesterday while I was sick, I was like I was trying to sit on the couch just like relax, but I was like I can't, like I feel terrible. So I just stood up, brought the bins in and went through them. So that was great. But then later that night, whenever Gabby got home, I was starting to feel like a little bit better, but just like really, really tired. So we just like sat on the couch the rest of the evening, and we started the show Nancy Drew, which I can't remember what's on. I think it's on I think it might be on it's on Max.
Okay.
And we started this show, and she told me that she started it with her roommate like a couple years ago, and that they turned it off because it was so scary.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, Nancy Drew? Like, what are you, like, that's like a kid's thing. And she was like, let's just watch it. So we watch it. Dude, this is like a horror movie. It's so scary. Really? I mean, like, to me, I was like enjoying, like, it doesn't, ever since I got married, scary stuff doesn't bother me anymore. Maybe because like I'm like, I just feel like I'm supposed to be the protector or whatever. Right. So it just doesn't like bother me. But she was terrified. Her hand, the roles were completely reversed. Whenever we were dating, I was terrified of everything, and she was the one like laughing at me. But like now, like it just doesn't scare me anymore. But I loved it. It's a really, really good show, like the mystery of it. But like they don't give you any relief throughout the show because you don't really know when the freaky parts happen, because they'll just be standing there and all of a sudden there will be like a burst of lightning and there's a person like in the top corner, but there's not like any like attack scares. It's just like subtle, like there's something in the background. Yeah. So you just feel like uneasy like the whole show. But yeah, Nancy Drew, the show, it was sneaky. That's not awesome. A children's show at all. Yeah. There's also not children themes in it.
That's funny. It's funny you talk about being the horror show or horror thing or whatever. Like, so Elizabeth and I started dating, and the first movie we ever watched together, just a rental, was Scream. If you guys see it. But she didn't know it was a horror movie.
What year did you guys start dating?
Oh my gosh. We got married in 98. So we started dating in 97. So
wow.
Like, okay, yeah. So what year were you born?
When is 98?
Okay. So Scream had just come out on VHS at the time. Thank you very much. You guys know what VHS is. That's our joke to this day, because she just knew it was the popular movie that was out, but she had no clue that it was a horror movie. So the first movie we ever watched was a horror movie, which is the joke.
That's the perfect way to go, because then she's like leaning into you and you're like consoling her.
That's just funny. And she doesn't like horror movies. Like even to this day, she doesn't like horror movies. Though we are going to Howl of Scream next week. Have you guys done Howl of Scream at Busch Gardens?
Oh,
so is there a Halloween thing? Have you ever done it?
So I haven't been to, again, like, growing up, I was absolutely terrified of scary movies. I think it's because my family ruined me, and they made me, like, we would have family movie night every Friday whenever I was a kid, like in middle school, and like before that, everything. And but my family was super into scary movies at the time. And so like every single Friday, my sister just wanted to watch a scary movie. Like, and I'm not just talking about like semi-scary movies. I mean like The Grudge and like like Conjuring, like those kind of scary movies where like they're supposed to be scary.
Scary movies.
And so every Friday I'd be like, I don't want to watch it. And then my mom and dad would be like, it's family time. You have to. And I'd be like, well, is it a scary movie? Like, no, it's just suspenseful. And that was like, they always said that. It was always a scary movie. Yes. And so it like scarred me. And I hated scary movies my whole life. They terrified me. I watched the whole thing through my hands. And then Gabby loved scary movies whenever we started dating. But then getting into college, I started to love scary movies, because I loved being with a bunch of friends. And I like loved the idea of like getting scared. Like it made me laugh really hard. So like I loved it. I ended up like really, really liking it. But I can never do like haunted houses.
I haven't done since I was a kid. I haven't done an actual haunted house.
Okay,
but this is where I'm thankful for the YouTube age because people have done walkthroughs of the houses. So at least I'm literally going to watch those walkthroughs.
So you know,
just so I
there.
have an idea. I don't mind being spoiled ahead of time. I don't need. I'm spoiled
the key to that is, so I went as a kid. We used to go to something called Scarowinds. So it's at Carowinds, which is on the South Carolina North Carolina border. They have Scarowinds during Halloween, and it's pretty. It's like at Busch Gardens, so they have a bunch of haunted houses, a bunch of people walking around.
Right.
And my family would force me to go every year, and I hated it. I wouldn't go into any of the houses, but I didn't need to because just walking around there being scary people. I can do makeup on people's faces and blood and all that stuff. If I see humanness, it doesn't bother me. As soon as you put a mask on, it bothers. Well, even as a kid, I hated the Chick-fil-A cow. Like, I hate masks. Even now, if a mascot comes near me, I feel very nervous. I do not like mascots. And I even was the Chick-fil-A cow. Whenever I worked at Chick-fil-A, I was the Chick-fil-A cow. It still scares
the
me.
Guy?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
And
the cow?
so I always hated it. And then like going to Liberty, like I would always be forced to go to Scaremare, which is the local thing around here.
Right.
And I hated it. But I haven't been since I've been married, and maybe now I don't feel like that anymore. I know I'll be forced to go to something this year, but we'll see.
Robbie had just gone to Halloween Horror Nights like last week or so he was telling his
Robbie
stories.
seems like he'd be really into that.
I mean, the next time he's here, yeah, they start very early down at Universal Studios.
Oh.
When he comes back, you need to have him tell you a couple of his stories because it's full on Robbie, and because Robbie is not into scares or jump scares. And he reenacted some of the houses he went through.
Oh yeah, he told me about like how he doesn't like that stuff.
Yeah, so he's not big into that, but he went with a big group of friends down there. But oh my gosh, it was fantastic.
Well, the key, Jason, let me tell you, I've learned some tips on not liking being scared.
Oh,
you have to act like you have to smile.
Right.
You have to smile, and you have to act like you're having a good time. Not too much of a good time. Don't like interact and stuff because then they're gonna be like, he loves it. Let me get in there more. But don't act like you're scared, or they're gonna attack you because you're too easy of a target. So I just learned how to walk through and be like, and just like kind of like you just gotta like awkwardly smile the whole time, and that's because then you're not fun.
Right.
Just don't be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he even said at one point their party was screaming so much that they actually backed off because the scare actors were worried.
Oh my
They were scaring them
goodness.
too
Wow.
much. Anyway, I said when Robbie's here next time,
I think
have
that is the best way for me to go. I would love to go with Robbie. That would be so
Robbie,
much
yeah.
fun.
the screams he was reenacting for us were pretty interesting for sure. So
That's hilarious. All right, we need to spin a wheel to see who's going to be on next week. I don't have the wheel
right there.
I can probably
All right,
find one.
Okay.
While Silas is getting that going, we're gonna make all right, you're walking through a haunted house. This is the sound we're gonna make.
Ooh.
And you can choose if you want to be the person scared or the person scaring. Okay, that's your sound effect that you get.
Okay.
I'll go if you would like me to. I went to this one haunted house and there was this guy in a pig mask that walked up. And it was so scary because it was like one of those like pig masks where like the skin is so realistic and there's just like blood I hated it. And he was making like a but like really, really loud.
Wow, that was
like
a good
squealing
sound.
I can only do it quietly. I found out later that it was one of my friends was in the mask. That's why he
Oh.
wouldn't leave me alone. I thought I was gonna get murdered. So
All right. I will do. You may want to cover. I'll come back a little bit. I would try to reenact Robbie.
it's okay.
We've
Got compression on the mic, so it won't. You're good. You're good.
So I don't remember the situation, but he got a jump scare, and it was like, out. That was my best Robbie for.
That's a great
Halloween
Robbie
Horror Nights.
impression. What you got, Silas?
All right, we're going with just a.
So much thought.
Love it. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm gonna go with. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready. Oh, that's
Oh, just a little like
Yeah.
worse scare there.
Yeah, I like
Love
that.
it.
I would if I was working a haunted house, I would lose my voice in the first hour.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Oh
first
yeah,
30
for
minutes.
sure.
Yeah.
For
Oh
sure.
my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm a yeller.
All right, I got the wheel.
All right, hit him with it.
We got. I just want to make sure I have it. Silas, Jason, Brad, Hunter, Trevor.
Yep.
That's everybody. Okay. I didn't want to leave anybody out. First one is.
What we got?
Me again.
It's rigged,
come on,
Silas.
Big Sy.
Awesome.
All right. Remove. Next up. Who's it gonna be?
Who do we got?
And
what is it looking like?
Brad.
Brad is us, another new
Brad
crew, right?
Konner.
Yeah, that's also a new combination. So make sure
Love
you
it.
come back
New combo.
next week on Wednesday for a brand new combination of the banter. See you guys.
Cool.
Bye.